I really think that forgiveness is the most powerful tool that we have as people to bring happiness into our lives. I think that the best way for us, one of the best ways for us to like start to understand and start to develop this like foundation of joy and peace. If we're trying to build a foundation underneath us that supports something like that, it starts with forgiveness. And the reason I say that is because if you can't forgive other people, then you can't forgive yourself. These two things kind of go hand in hand. The more that you criticize other people, or the more that you hold grudges against other people, the more that you do the same thing to yourself. So if you're constantly, like, it's kind of like this, there's this like give and take aspect to it, where the more that you're, and it go like varying degrees of severity, right? Like it could be simple things like whether you think that somebody is cringy or not. Like if you think that somebody's cringy, right? You're then putting yourself into a box because you say that this person acts cringy or acts like, whatever. I hate that word, by the way. But like, if you say that somebody acts cringy, then you're holding that person and yourself to a certain standard. And that standard is like, what you consider to be like proper behavior or uncringy behavior. And the same way goes for like upholding a certain, I don't know, if you're like playing a game with somebody or doing something like doing some sort of task with somebody and you, like inappropriately and excessively criticize that person for doing this or that wrong, like what does that say about you when you turn around and do the same thing, right? Forgiveness has a lot to do with like our ability to not be judgmental of other people hastily, to not I feel like a lack of forgiveness and judgment kind of like go hand in hand with each other. And the less forgiving that you are and the more judgmental that you are of other people, the more unhappy you are in your own life. And that's because those things are like correspondent to each other. Like the more unhappy a person is, the more likely they are to judge somebody and the more likely they are to be not forgiving, right? And so it's interesting because a person can be unforgiving or judgmental because of their unhappiness. But the thing that person has the power to do in order to turn around their unhappiness is to begin being forgiving and non-judgmental. If you begin to forgive people and stop being judgmental, you will be happier. You'll find that your life has like a much more positive light to it. Everything will become more positive. So it's kind of interesting how those two things, like changing one or the other will change the other. So if I am forgiving and non-judgmental, I will be happy. It will bring happiness into my life. If I am unhappy, I will be judgmental and non-forgiving. And if I'm judgmental and non-forgiving, leading with, then I will be unhappy in my life because I will constantly be looking around and seeing all of the things that people are doing wrong, right? And so you'll be focusing on all of the negative shit and you'll just be upset like all the time. And it's kind of weird, like the way that those two things go hand in hand is just, it's very interesting. They have a very powerful duality with each other. Your internal happiness and how forgiving and judgmental you are of other people. Those two things are very powerfully bound to each other. So it's important to be forgiving because in my opinion, like personally, I don't think that I would have ever found happiness in my life if I didn't learn how to forgive. Especially since I've had some like very, very terrible things happen to me in my life because of situations with other people, like my parents, for example. If I didn't learn how to forgive my parents, like I would be holding on to that and I would be continuing to act certain ways while blaming it on my parents because I didn't learn how to forgive or stop judging them, because everybody is just doing what they know. That's what we're all here doing, is what we know that we can do, what we know to do. And, I think that we forget that. Like we forget as people that when you're looking at somebody else, whatever that person is doing is all they know. however that person is acting, however they speak, whatever they do, it's all they know. They're in a totally different world than you. Like, you're in the same world together, but their outlook and everything just looks so completely different than yours that you can't even comprehend it. And so there is no point in trying to. You just need to accept these people for what they are. Because even when somebody treats you poorly, it's important to remember that that's not a personal thing, to you. If somebody treats you poorly, they don't treat you poorly because there's something wrong with you. They treat you poorly because there's something wrong with them. And it's not that there's something even wrong with them, but just that they are probably in some form of suffering or pain in that moment. You know what I mean? So, in that way, I do believe that if I never learned how to forgive, like, I would have never found happiness in my life. And I'm forgiving this leaf blower outside of my house right now. I'm being really forgiving of this guy. Dude! It's always when I record videos. This always happens. It's hilarious. Another thing I wanted to talk about is, dude, the flow state. Being in a flow state is amazing. If you can experience that, like, it's just, if you learn how to slow yourself down, stop interfering with your actions, stop interfering with your thoughts. Dude, is it just getting louder? Come on. This is ridiculous. My guy is out here in the middle. I just want to highlight this for a minute, okay? I'm a little, peeved. Dude, it is April. It is April 17th. There are no leaves on the ground. I looked out my window and forget, this is so ironic. Everything, I swear. I was talking about this in my dishwashing video that I don't know if I'll put it out by the time this goes up or not. But dude, I swear to God, every time I talk about something extremely ironic regarding what I was talking about happens. I swear, I'm talking about being forgiving and not judgmental. And then this happens. There's this dude outside and he is leaf blowing and there are no leaves. There are no leaves out there. And I'm in my head, I'm why is this guy leaf blowing right now in the middle of April when there's no leaves on the ground? I'm looking at him. I went out there. I went out there and I looked, and this guy is leaf blowing a barren cart, you know what, dude, why don't I just show you? But, why don't I just show you? There's nothing there. He's leaf blowing nothing. Am I crazy? Am I crazy or is he leaf blowing nothing? Am I crazy? Oh my God. This is the most absurd. Okay. But I need to stop judging him for it. See, that's the thing. I can't. Why? I just want to know why this guy is leaf blowing like that. What? There's nothing there, dude. Okay, anyway. Where was I? What was I talking about before I went on this tangent? I don't remember what I was talking about. Oh yeah, allow yourself to be in a flow state. The flow state is what happens when you stop messing with your mind. When you stop messing with your actions. You stop telling yourself in words in your head, what to do, how to do it, when to do it. You just do. And I think that what you'll find, most of you, is if you're able to bring yourself to the present moment, calm yourself down, and stop messing with your mind, and just allow yourself to be, just you allow yourself to go with whatever it is you're doing. Doesn't mean do nothing, but it means slow down and just let actions, thoughts, words, everything, just allow it to come to you naturally. Don't try to force it. Don't try to make it stop either. Just practice that. Find yourself in this middle ground between doing nothing and trying. Find yourself in that middle ground, because if you can get yourself into a flow state, you become better at everything. I really don't know what it is about it, but you become better at everything when you can get into that state of, I'm not even thinking about what I'm doing. I'm just doing it. Like when I play basketball, when I play guitar, when I'm playing Rocket League, when I'm doing anything, like when I all three of those were plays. That was kind of weird. You know, like when I'm at work, when I'm cleaning my house, everything. Like all of these things are so much better if I'm in like a flowing state. If I'm in a complete flow state where I'm not thinking about anything at all, dude, so much better. Like everything, it just like, I become more effective. I become more cognitive. And, and the key to that, the key to getting into that flow state is to become relaxed and intense. I heard Sadhguru say that one time, and it just like clicked with me immediately that that's what you need to do. That's how you become in a flow state, is you're relaxed, but you're intense. And so really what that means is that you're calm, but you're not like, how do I want to put this? Like you're relaxed, as in you're calm and you're slowed down, but you're not like lazy. You're not slothed out. You're not like, like you're not too far on the calm side. You're just calm, and you're intense, as in you're paying very close attention to everything that's happening around you, but you're not doing it in a way that is like overly excited or that is like anxious or tense. You're just paying attention. So if you're relaxed and intense, you could look at something. Like I feel like it works well to like look at something and just like get yourself into like a good postured state. Look at something and take a deep breath and just focus on whatever it is that you're looking at for a second, and that kind of gets you in this place where it's like, oh, I see what that's supposed to feel like. I see where I'm supposed to be headed in order to get to this mindset. Is like, and that's a really good feeling. Like when you can do that, it's a really good feeling. You can't, and it's not going to be perfect. Like I feel like a flow state is not something that can exactly be called upon on demand all the time. But a flow state definitely, like you can help it arise in your life, and it's nice, and it has a lot of benefits as far as like what, like your performance and also your enjoyment of doing things. It has a lot of benefits. And also just keep in mind, like keep this principle with you, that everything that you do is intended and valuable. That's a huge mindset change for me, that has been like just changing the way that I look at everything that I do in the most positive way. Is that everything I believe in my heart that everything that I'm doing, regardless of whether I know what the outcome of it is going to be or not, everything that I do is intended and valuable. I have an intent and a value in everything that I do. I don't always know what it is, but I have faith that it's there. So if I'm following my intuition, if I'm following my intuitive process, and I'm doing things, whatever, in any context, I have a faith and a belief that what I'm doing is intended and valuable. And that makes it a lot easier to trust yourself moving forward too. If you can remind yourself of that, everything that I do is intended and valuable. Everything that I do is intended and valuable. If you can tell yourself that, and you can get yourself to really feel that in your heart, it makes it so much easier to trust yourself moving forward. And that's really what this is all about, is just trusting yourself to move forward. Trust yourself to move forward. Trust yourself to move forward. Stop moving backwards. Stop trying to stay in the same place. Move forward. Move forward. Move forward. It's really, it's a really powerful thing to feel that way, to be in that state, to be in that vibrational state. It's really cool. It's like a vibration of like exception or acceptance. I said exception. Wrong kind of accept, but like it's a vibration of acceptance. To be in that state of understanding that everything that I do is intended and valuable. Feeling that in your heart is a state of acceptance. That's a very like powerful vibrational state. It's good to be in that place, and it helps a lot. And one of the ways, you know what I'm going to say next, because I say this all the time, and it's extremely important. one of the ways that you can get yourself into a state that's closer than that, you don't have to, but it helps, meditation. And meditation, in my opinion, the most effective form of meditation that a person can do is unguided meditation, where they're simply sitting with their own thoughts. You're sitting and I like to do the cross leg position now. I didn't really like to do that before. I kind of like would sit in a chair and have like my palms up and like get my posture going, and I would sit. But I've been using like a back supported method of sitting in the, I think it's called Sakasana, right? The simple pose, simple cross-legged pose. And I've been meditating that way. And there is something about it. I think it's because it's a it's almost difficult, but it's not at the same time. And so that's kind of like one of the prerequisites of getting into a flow state. If you study like, how do I get into a flow? Like, one of the prerequisites is that what you're doing, the activity that you're doing, is challenging, but not so challenging that it's frustrating, and not so easy that it's boring. And so you have to find like that middle ground. And I think that's, in my opinion, that's like an over intellectualization and like complication of Zen. It's like pretty, it's pretty verbose and pretty like wordy for Zen, but it is what it is. And I do kind of agree with the sentiment. I understand. Maybe it's easier to get into a flow state when you're in that way. But my point is that sitting in that position has really like, it changed my meditation game. Like, it's, oh God, this is so just, what's the word I'm looking for? I kind of want to say like egoic. It's kind of egoic because you just don't need the you don't need to over intellectualize stuff. Like, you really don't. You don't need to be so, like, everything doesn't need to be so thought out. It's kind of part of being in a flow state, is to not think things out so much because you're overthinking it. And that goes for you too, Jamie. I'm looking at myself in the camera. It goes for you too, dude. But regardless, meditation is an extremely powerful tool. Feels really good. When you can get yourself to like sit perfectly still for a long time, feels really nice. And it allows you to slip in. Like, I've noticed that if I meditate for a decent amount of time, like 20, 30 minutes, which is it's hard to do. It's a long time. But if I can sit perfectly still, what kind of happens to me is I get to this point where I'm like sitting there, and I usually am sitting like this with my hands in my lap, and I feel like I'm gonna explode for a minute. Like, I start to feel this like welling in my chest and then radiating out into my arms of like, I need to move. But if I just don't, because it truly is easy to not. You don't like the feeling. Like, the feeling is unpleasant of like wanting to move but not moving. But there is no reflex that's gonna force you to move. And if you just decide, like, you just make the decision beforehand, I'm not gonna move. And if you just ride that out and sit through it, it turns into bliss. That feeling of the welling in your chest and it radiates, and it feels like awful at first, and you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna move. But then you don't, and it turns into like ecstasy. That was a very interesting thing for me. And what it felt like happened was I broke through a wall. And I feel like I found a deeper level of presence. That was what was happening to me, was that I was like, I had found like the bottom of the well of presence that I was in. And I broke through that bottom and went to a new well of presence. And I went even deeper. And now I'm more patient. I found more patience than I had before, which is very interesting. Like, I didn't really think before that it worked that way. But it does. There's like levels to this stuff, man. There's levels to this stuff, and it's really cool. So, meditation is extremely powerful and extremely important and extremely helpful. And do yourself the service today of meditating for just a few minutes if you can. If that's all you can do, 2 to 5 minutes. Just take some time. Practice that. Because if you meditate on a regular basis and you get really good at it, it changes everything, man. It changes like your whole life. It really does. Because to be calm and at peace is like one of the most important things. Everything is better if you're calm and at peace. Everything. There's not a thing in this world that does not become enhanced because you are paying full attention to it and you are calm and peaceful with it. There's nothing in this world that like, even if you're at like a party, like a rave, just being like, it's one thing to get, like, it's awesome too to get swept up and yeah, like, you know, rocking out with everybody at the party, at the music festival, the rave, whatever it is. But like at the same time, I've been the person before where I've been able to relax and be intent and enjoy watching and interacting with people and watching everything. And also, the other thing is that's interesting is that if you get into that state and you're in a gathering like that where everybody's amped up, everybody's elevated, if you're the person who's not, you get a lot of attention. Not that you want attention, you know, that's kind of an egoic desire, but it is interesting. It is an interesting side effect that if you're in a group of people and you are one of the calm ones and you're not like being, you know, you're not like being awkward where you're like wallflowering and you're sitting in the corner because you are like anxious and don't want to talk to people, but you're just relaxed, intense, walking through this, you know, having this experience with people, it makes you kind of stand out a little bit because everybody's up, everybody's like freaking out, you know, and you're not, and you look different, you stand out because of that, and people feel it, people feel the energy, you know. So I'm gonna move on to the quote of the day. The quote of the day is, "You are the sky." Oh, my computer, right as I was gonna read it. "You are the sky. Everything else, it's just the weather." That was Pema Chodron who said that. An American Tibetan Buddhist monk, I believe, Pema Chodron. "You are the sky. Everything else, it's just the weather." I love that quote. I love that quote because it's the truth. Everything that comes to you, every state that you exist in, is all just weather. It just washes over you and then it leaves. And you have the choice as a person, like you really do, and it's crazy because people don't realize this. You have the choice as a person to like experience something, whether it's anger, joy, happiness, sadness, love, lust, whatever. All of these things that you experience are just states of being that come and go. And they're not even really states of being, but they're like conditions on top of your state of being. Like they are like weather. They are very much like weather. They come and go. And you don't have to attach to them. You don't. And you don't have to do anything about them either. Like, do you do something about the rain? Not really. No. It's rain. I can watch the rain. I look out my window and I listen to the rain hit my window. Maybe there's thunder. But I just watch it. You know, there's nothing you can do about it. And that's the truth. Pema Chodron she was on the money with that. That really is how everything is. And it's also like everything else. So your possessions, your relationships, your goals, everything else. You're the sky. Everything else is just the weather. Very interesting. And, you know, we don't have to be a victim to that weather. We don't have to be a victim to our internal weather. We can simply observe it and continue to live our lives and find peace in that. So, all right, that's all I got for today, guys. Much love to everybody. Thank you for joining me. This is my new, like, kind of, I've got like a little cool format going on. I'm going to call this Journey to Consciousness, which is a playlist I've already had on the channel, but I didn't really know what I was going to do with it yet. I'm in that like constant, I'm in that, you know, imperfect action stage still. So that's what I'm doing today. Journey to Consciousness. Thank you for joining me. Much love to all of you. if you want to speak with me and other like-minded individuals. We've got a great group of people, beautiful souls. It's an amazing community. The Conscious Path, our Discord server, it's in the description below. Much love to you guys. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.